What will the Titans' record be for the 2025 season? Justin and I are about to go through the schedule and predict win or loss for every game on the 2025 schedule. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, serving the community since 1985. We're also presented by Broadway Sports Media and 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo. And today, Justin, we're going to predict the final win-loss record for the Tennessee Titans. Way too early. It's May. We just had Memorial Day weekend. Hope everyone had a good weekend. We went over the Titans' schedule when it was first released, talked about the lack of primetime games and the bye week and the travel and yada, yada, yada. Now we're going to go revisit that because we've done a few episodes in between. If you missed them, go back and check them out. We talked depth chart with Easton Freeze. We went through some OTA, press conference quotes and Titans players, starting to gravitate towards Cam Ward and all that stuff. So go check out those channels. But today, coming back to the schedule, we're going to go game by game and predict win or loss. Now, as we get into this exercise, I would like to point out how dumb it is. I think this is a futile thing to do. We don't know which team this year is going to be the Commanders, a surprise team that goes to the conference championship. We don't know which team is going to be the 49ers, a team that everyone had in the conference championship that went 6-11 last year. We don't know how good these teams are going to be. Another major component to this is if a quarterback gets injured in week 3 and the Titans play them in week 6, it's a totally different team we're talking about than what we're going to go through right now. All that said, it's fun. This is a fun time of year to look ahead and predict how the Titans are going to do this season. So, Justin, with that said, how's it going, and are you ready to get into this schedule?
Doing well. I'm ready. I have a feeling you're going to be more optimistic than I am, but let's do it.
I don't know about that. So one thing I'm looking at as we go through the schedule, I mentioned this a couple episodes ago, is the coaching matchup, because with a lot of these teams, there's a lot of changes. There's the Raiders, for example, week 6 are a completely new team with a new coach and a new quarterback and all kinds of new pieces. In games like that, I'm going to default to who I think has the better head coach. And as we go into this season, there's not a lot of confidence on my end that Brian Callahan is a very good head coach or that he will be the better head coach in any of these matchups. Now, he has a chance to prove us all wrong. And I've said this before, going into this season is a lot like going into last season where we talked about Will Levis. And this is a make or break year for Will Levis. But every time we talked any kind of positive hope for Will Levis last year, Justin, we talked about, but there are these things that he doesn't do very well. He takes too many sacks. He doesn't always get the ball out quickly and play on time. And we would say things like, can he improve? Or can he be good enough in other areas to overcome these weaknesses? And with a quarterback and those specific traits we were talking about, a lot of those are pretty hard for a quarterback to improve. Sensing pressure is not something a quarterback just gets better at. Now, with Brian Callahan, the conversation is a little different because we're not talking about a quarterback's strengths and weaknesses. We're talking about what a head coach did or didn't do well. And a head coach who was a very smart guy, who has proven to be a good offensive play designer and play caller, who didn't always have the best command of the team, didn't always seem to have them fully prepared to play in every game, was routinely outclassed in all 3 phases, offense, defense, and special teams. Can he improve enough to the point where we're like, okay, this guy is understanding now what it takes to be a head coach in the NFL, and the strengths that he brings as an offensive play caller and designer are now maximized because he's actually getting the best out of the rest of the team. Or, it's a sink or swim year for Brian Callahan from that regard. So he's got to get a lot better, and he has a chance to get a lot better. I'm a little bit more optimistic that Brian Callahan can improve on his flaws than I was that Will Levis could improve on his flaws, although I don't want to be too revisionist because I did have pretty high hopes for Will Levis last year.
No, totally get it, right? But you don't know until you get to watch, right? And we get everyone this time of year, it's fun to focus on the bright side and the positive. And Will Levis is going to get better. That's what guys do. And then reality slaps you in the face. That's why they say hope springs eternal in the offseason, right? Will Levis shows up and doesn't, actually takes a step backwards, something we couldn't fathom in May of last year, probably. So right. It is what it is, but I'm excited to get into this, win-loss, because it's not all Brian Callahan. I think, players are going to decide this more than anything. So excited to compare these rosters and how they stack up versus one another.
Right. And the other huge unknown is we don't know how good Cam Ward is, if he's actually good, if he's CJ Stroud, Jaden Daniels levels of good, if he's just sort of like Caleb Williams levels of good, or if he's like Zach Wilson level of bad. We don't know yet. So a lot of this is projection, but that's the baseline we're coming into this with, is who Brian Callahan was last year, not what we project him to be. what we hope Cam Ward can be, but not what he actually is. So anyway, a lot of unknowns. Let's get into the schedule, starting with week 1 at Denver Broncos, 3:05 p.m. Central Standard Time kickoff, a late afternoon window game for the Titans, which they, traditionally don't get a lot of, but there are a lot of them on this year's schedule. Now, we talked about this a little bit when the schedule came out. Playing at Denver in their home opener is one of the toughest environments to play football in, regardless of rosters, coaches, quarterbacks, who's on either side of the ball. This is a very difficult opening game for Cam Ward and the Titans. A great pass rush, a great secondary, just a great defense overall, a rebuilt offensive line for the Titans, a lot of unproven, I'll call them, pass catchers for the Titans. So maybe a matchup disadvantage in this game. I'm going to predict that they open the season with a loss. That doesn't necessarily mean that the season is going to be lost overall, but I will predict that the Broncos are just a little too much for this game. Again, I think the Titans lose the coaching battle here with Sean Payton and Brian Callahan. Regardless of whether or not you think Bo Nix has a sophomore slump, he proved that he could do it last year. Cam Ward hasn't proven anything. So I'm predicting a Titans loss here, but I also will remember that week 1 is a liar, and the Titans could lose this game and still be a good team. They could also win this game because week 1 is a liar and then end up being a bad team. But what do you have the Titans doing in week 1?
They've done that before. Yeah, you took all my talking points, but I'm going with the loss as well. Tough road matchup. Broncos got a lot of continuity. Offense, Sean Payton, Bo Nix, second year. Defense, I talked about on the schedule episode. They've got everybody coming back, defensive coordinators coming back, home opener, tough road environment, climate, altitude, all that stuff. Just a really tough matchup for a young football team with a rookie quarterback, second-year head coach, whole new offensive line. Yeah, I've got the Broncos winning this one.
And then the Titans come home week 2 for their home opener, hosting the Los Angeles Rams at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Rams, obviously a team that went deep into the playoffs last year, losing in the divisional round to the Eagles on a play where Jalen Carter just manhandled the guy. The Rams were this close to going to the NFC Championship. So this is a good team. We expect a lot of veterans, core veterans returning, a lot of rookies that played well last year, especially on the defensive line in the NFL for another season, could be taking a step forward. This is a really tough home opener. The Titans open the season playing probably 2 of the 5 best teams on their schedule this year. And we'll see if they can handle the Rams. Now, one advantage, the Rams, a West Coast team traveling to Nashville. They usually play in that later window. They'll be playing at the 12 p.m. time slot. So maybe that helps the Titans. The energy around a home opener with a rookie quarterback. If he plays decently well in week 1, but they still lose, but he plays decently well, there's going to be a lot of excitement in the stadium. I think that's sort of the best chance the Titans have to win this game, is to sort of capitalize on that energy and excitement, and the Rams playing on the road in an earlier time slot. These are maybe the advantages they have. Another coaching mismatch. Sean McVay could coach circles around Brian Callahan. Matthew Stafford, a top 10, if not top 5 quarterback in this league. I'd love to predict a Titans win here, and I could see a realistic path to where they sort of the ball bounces in a weird way into a win for the Titans. But I'm going to make my official prediction with the Titans start 0-2.
I'm going to go with a win here. Yeah, I can't believe I'm doing it. I do, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk. This is a good football team. Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams on offense. I just think this fan base, this atmosphere is going to be so fired up to see Cam Ward for the first time at home in a regular season game. I think the fans are really going to rally behind this team in this game specifically. Again, first opportunity to cheer on Cam Ward as the franchise quarterback at home. Well, I undeniably think the Rams are a better football team. We know we're not going to predict this schedule perfectly. There are going to be games they win that they shouldn't, and there will be games that they lose that they shouldn't. And this is one of the ones that strikes me as an opportunity to kind of come away with the victory due to the home crowd advantage.
And remember, teams in the first month of the season are usually a mirage of what they become later in the season. Think about the Saints last year, who scored 90 points in the first 2 games of the season and then went on to be one of the worst teams in the league. So maybe this is one of those mirage situations. The Rams have been a slow starting team through McVay's tenure, especially, the last few years. So could totally see a situation where the Titans squeak out a win here. Moving on to week 3, the Titans stay at home, back-to-back home games, and it's their first divisional matchup. They host the Indianapolis Colts, another 12 p.m. Central kickoff. I'll let you start this one since I started the last 2.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a win. 2-1. I think you try to win your divisional games at home. I think the Colts have a chance to be, one of the bottom two teams in the AFC South. Of course, the Titans could be the other one. We'll see. But, lackluster quarterback competition here. Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson. Don't have a lot of faith in this direction of the Colts. I think, Shane Steichen, I think Chris Ballard, they both might be entering lame duck years. If things don't go well this year, I bet they clean house and probably draft another quarterback next year. So, I trust the Titans just enough to win this game at home. Spoiler alert, I'll probably go with a loss when they go to Indy, right? I think Titans are still a rebuilding team, but this one at home early in the season, Colts still trying to figure out who they are. We'll see what happens at quarterback for them. I've got the Titans at 2-1.
I think that Anthony Richardson will probably start the season as the starter. I think they brought in Daniel Jones to fire him up and sort of, say, this is serious, you need to step up or get out of here. And so I think they'll give him every chance to be the starter. I just don't think they give up on the number 4 overall pick that quickly, even if Daniel Jones looks a little better in training camp. Now, I don't know how long that'll last with Richardson being the starter. I do think at some point during the year, the Colts season will not be going the way they hope, and they will make that quarterback switch. But I think that will be after week 3, well after week 3. The Colts don't have their bye until week 11. So I don't think that they're going to wait that long to make a quarterback switch. Like they'll get desperate when they're 1-4 or whatever, right? But I think Richardson starts the season as the starting quarterback, and I think he is the starting quarterback in week 3. And I don't think Richardson is an NFL starting level quarterback. So I'm going to predict a Titans win here. I think that this could be like the Cam Ward breakout game. The Colts, I don't think they have a tremendous defense. I think the Titans actually have an advantage in a number of roster areas and potentially the first head coaching matchup advantage. Now, I think Shane Steichen is also a good offensive mind like Brian Callahan, but can he be the head coach of a team that isn't a disaster? We don't know if either of these guys can, but I think I will also predict a Titans win here. You've got the Titans at 2-1 through 3 weeks, Justin. Do they continue, do they make it a 3-game win streak, I should say, when they travel to Houston for week 4 for another 12 p.m. kickoff?
No, I'll have them at 2-2 here. I think going into this year, still think Houston's the best team in the division. I mean, maybe we'll be surprised. I don't like a lot of what Houston did this offseason, but I think they've got enough star power. CJ Stroud at quarterback, Nico Collins at wide receiver, Joe Mixon. They drafted a couple receivers, Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins. Star power all over the defense. Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter. Secondary that's getting so damn good. Derek Stingley, Jalen Petrie, Kalen Bullock. I was getting ahead of myself there. Just a pretty damn good roster all throughout. This game, Titans won in Houston last year, if I recall correctly. It was their last win of the year. It was really stunning that they pulled that off. They scored like 30-some points, too, I think, with Will Levis at quarterback. That one was really stunning. I don't think it happens twice, though. I think Texans wins this game at home. Titans fall to 2-2. I'm
going to predict a Titans win here and also put them at 2-2. And the reason, we don't have really very many reasons, but I do not like what the Texans did with their offensive line this year. I think they signed a lot of guys to be starters who are kind of backup level. They added some pass catchers, obviously some talented pass catchers, traded for Christian Kirk in addition to drafting the Iowa State guys, but you got to have time to get them the ball. And here's the kicker for me. Nick Caley is the new offensive coordinator, right? Everyone liked Bobby Slowick 2 years ago. Everyone hated Bobby Slowick last year. Well, they fire Bobby Slowick. They bring in Nick Caley. It's his first time as a play caller in the NFL, first time offensive coordinator. He was with the Rams for the past 2 seasons. Last year, he was tight ends coach and pass game coordinator. That's the first time in his career that he had coordinator as one of his titles, and he was only the pass game coordinator. This is a guy who got his career start as a coach, as a student assistant coach in 2005. So for 20 years, he's been working his way up the ranks, never even had the word coordinator in his title, first time offensive coordinator. It's only week 4. Is that enough time for him to get a full grasp and understanding of what it takes to be a play caller and offensive coordinator in the NFL? Was he hired because of the Sean McVay effect? And he was next to Sean McVay, so he must be as good as Sean McVay. Get over here. That's how Zach Taylor got plucked out to be the Bengals head coach back in the day. So maybe he's got the magic touch, but I think this is early in his career as a play caller to just project that he's going to be great with a terrible offensive line to mitigate. And I think that's a big factor here. I think the Titans offensive line by week 4 should be playing better, especially after being battle tested those first 2 games of the season. So I've got a Titans win, and that puts them at 2-2. We both have them at 2-2. And so let's move on here. We got, that Houston game is the start of a 3-game road trip. So week 5 at Arizona, another late window kickoff, 3:05 p.m. Central. Do you have the Titans beating the Cardinals?
I do not. No, I think this is a Cardinals team that's getting ready to take a bit of a step forward. Marvin Harrison Jr. year 2. Look what they did on the defensive side of the ball. Signed Josh Sweat in free agency, brought in Calais Campbell, a guy who, again, mentor, veteran leadership. They draft Walter Nolan in round 1. Character concerns, yada, yada. I love pairing him with a guy like Calais Campbell, right? Get him with really the best mentor in the NFL for a defensive lineman. Yeah. I think this team is ready to take a step. I think they've gotten a little bit better every year since Monty Ossenfort's been GM and Jonathan Gannon's been head coach. I think it's probably the best roster they've had in that era. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're a great football team, but I think they're like an 8-9, 9-8 team. That's a step from where they were 2 years ago. So plus it's in Arizona, home field advantage. I think the Cardinals are basically where the Titans want to be like a year from now, right? Just gotten better every year. They stacked draft picks. Monty Ossenfort rebuilded well. I think they're right on the cusp of being like postseason contenders.
I agree with a lot of what you said there. The biggest factor to me is that this is week 5 and not week 15. And Kyler Murray in week 5 is a different player than he typically is in week 15 when he's, been banged up. Doesn't have the biggest frame. He runs around a lot. He doesn't do great, sustaining his level of play for 17 games, but he usually starts pretty well. And I think in week 5, it depends on which version of Kyler Murray shows up in this game. If he's dotting up the Titans defense, it's going to be really tough to beat this Cardinals team. And I kind of think that is what we will see. So I'm with you on projecting a Titans loss in week 5. And now closing out this 3-game road trip, they head to Las Vegas. Another late window kickoff. Brian Callahan did say this time around, because last year the Titans had a multi-game West Coast road trip, and this year they're doing a similar thing, but they are not going to stay out there in between these games. They're going to come back home, sleep in their own bed, practice in their own facility, and then make the trip back out to Vegas for this game. So I think that this is one of the hardest games to project on the schedule. I mentioned this at the top. New quarterback, new head coach, new everything, basically, new GM. Tom Brady's involved. There's a lot of change here. They've drafted Ashton Genty, 6 overall. There's a lot of turnover with this Raiders team. Pete Carroll, very established, culture program builder in college and in the NFL, Super Bowl champion head coach. Another matchup, I don't think the Titans have the advantage in head coaching, matchup. So I'm going to project a Raiders win, but also acknowledging that we have no idea what the Raiders are going to be this year.
Yeah, this is one of the closest ones for me, but I'm gonna slightly lean your way and go with a Raiders win. I just think a head coach like Pete Carroll, a veteran quarterback like Geno Smith, and then probably a high volume run game with a dynamic rusher, and we're projecting to be an Ashton Genty. I just think the Raiders are sort of better built to win now, right? I think this is the type of team like Pete Carroll's going to have them just competitive enough where they're going to be in a lot of football games. They still have a lot of deficiencies on their roster. I just think the way Pete Carroll coaches, the way Geno Smith is established and has won a decent amount of football games over the last couple of years, and then having a workhorse in the backfield, I think they're just better built to be competitive than the Titans are right now. They're at home again, late window, comfortable. I have a Raiders win here as well.
So you have the Titans going 0-3 on this 3-game road trip. I have them going 1-2. And then we both have them sitting at 2-4 heading into the week 7 game at home where Mike Vrabel makes his return to Nashville, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time kickoff. And now this is a tough one to project too, because we don't really know how good Drake May is. There's a lot of promise that he showed last year in a very bad situation, but is he due for a sort of sophomore slump, or was last year too much of a slump to even be considered a sophomore slump if he's not that good this year? Whatever. But Mike Vrabel taking over, also a guy that's been a noted culture changer, leader of men. We all know the Mike Vrabel experience here in Nashville. I'm actually going to project a Titans win here. I think the Titans take care of business with Vrabel's return. I think that the fan base is going to be energized for hosting this game. Again, I'm not that confident that Drake May is just going to be good. I still have questions about the Patriots' weapons and ability to, support Drake May. Will Campbell, is he going to be good protecting the blind side here. Like, they're going to start him at left tackle. We'll see what happens. I love Kyle Williams. Obviously, everyone knows that. It'll be fun to see Cam Ward and Kyle Williams link up in the post game and probably do a jersey swap and all that fun stuff. But I'm predicting that the Titans win this one because I think that both these teams are in similar stages of the roster rebuild, but I'm going to give the home field advantage here and give the Titans the win.
Yeah, you and I are both going to be wrong about this one because I'm going to go with the Titans win as well. But do we not think Mike Vrabel's leaving this with this town without a win? And the post game, it's going to be, Titans, they made a mistake, and Mike Vrabel goes back and proves them wrong. Like, I just have a feeling that that's what's going to happen and be the narrative. But I'm going to go with the Titans win because I've got them on a bit of a losing streak. They're at home here against what's probably not a very good football team, maybe not a great defense. I think it's a good opportunity for Cam Ward to have a big time performance at home, and hopefully the narrative is Mike Vrabel wishes he had Cam Ward, when he was there in Nashville, and things would have been different. So I'm going to go with the Titans win, but I could already see it written in the stars where Mike Vrabel leaves Nashville with a win.
I can see it happening that way too, but we're going to predict a Titans win and move on to week 8, where the Titans travel to Indianapolis for another late kickoff, 3:25 p.m. Central Time. I think by week 8, Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. And just like you hinted at earlier, I'm going to predict that the Titans lose this game when they face a different quarterback in Indianapolis.
Yeah, me too. I just don't think the Titans are going to sweep probably anyone in the division. I don't think they'll sweep the Colts. And it's funny, remember when Gardner Minshew would come in and beat the Titans, replace Anthony Richardson because he's more well equipped to play good football right now? It's probably the same thing with Daniel Jones, who might be in this game, and we'll laugh about it initially, and then we're gonna feel miserable after saying Daniel Jones went 17 of 22, had 5 incompletions the whole game, threw 2 touchdowns, 235 yards, I should say, and played a clean football game and beat the Titans. So I don't think the Titans sweep the Colts. I've got them losing the home game.
Yeah, I think that is how it plays out as well. Week 9, Titans back home. So we've got a road home versus the Los Angeles Chargers, another 12 p.m. kickoff. And the Chargers are another mystery team to me because this could either be like the surprise AFC contender or a step back season from where they were last year when they showed a lot of improvement under Jim Harbaugh and maybe exceeded expectations based on where the roster was this time last year. Did that performance push their expectations for this year too high and now they'll be a disappointment, or are they going to be like one of the contenders in the AFC this year? I'm sort of more expecting the latter. I think they're going to be one of the better teams the Titans see this season, and I could see a scenario where this game isn't even particularly close. I'm going to predict that the Chargers win this game.
I got a Chargers win as well. I mean, I don't know that I'm not ready to say what you are, that they're going to step up and be one of the better teams, but I do think they're just, so tough, so well coached. They beat the snot out of the Titans last year, right? Hassan Haskins ran for a touchdown. Everyone was having fun. The 75 former Titans they have on the roster all left with a win. I don't think the Titans could beat the Chargers. I got to see it to believe it. Just a good, hard-nosed football team. I think Harbaugh always has them ready to play.
And that puts us at the bye week 10 bye, and a great time to remind you that this podcast is... Sorry. Yeah, we do have the same record right now. We both have them at 3-6 heading into the bye, which, as I was saying, is a great time to remind everyone that this podcast is presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and a beer store in East Nashville. You can head to their website, which is linked in the description here, to join the In-Crowd, and for free, In-Crowd members get access to allocated wines and spirits, exclusive events, early access to barrel releases, and more. Then we're on to Week 11, the second matchup with the Houston Texans, this time at home, 12 p.m. Standard Central Time kickoff. We both have the Titans coming out of the bye at 3-6, which means they probably need to do really well down the stretch, win between 6 and 7 games down the stretch to have a shot to make the playoffs. How do you see the post-bye week Titans starting in this home matchup versus Houston?
I'm going to go with a win. Probably regret it, but I think they split the division here, a division series with the Texans. I had them losing at home. I had them losing to the Texans in Houston. I'm going to have them winning the game in Nashville. I think by this time, hopefully things are firing on all cylinders a bit more, come out of the bye week. So you've got the rest advantage there a little bit. I'm going with a Titans victory.
And I'm going with the Titans loss almost just because I went with the Titans win the first time, and I agree that I don't think that they're going to be sweeping the Texans. And then the Titans play at home again in Week 12. It'll be their third straight home game, and with the bye week in there, it'll be their fourth straight week at home, taking on the Seattle Seahawks, also a team with a new quarterback and a lot of unknowns, another 12 p.m. kickoff. I predict that the Titans will beat the Seahawks at home. And I predict that this game will be sort of a turning point in their season. It'll be at this point in the year where the Titans have to decide, are we going to make a push to compete for a wild card spot, or are we going to fold and put Jeffrey Simmons on IR again for the fourth straight year as we just let this thing crater into oblivion? I think that this is where the Titans say, we have a quarterback that we believe in now. Like Brian Callahan's message is starting to resonate. We were close in some of these losses that I've predicted them to be, 3-7 going into this game. And I think they beat the Seahawks, they beat Sam Darnold, and they go off, and that it puts them on a trajectory to end this season in a positive way. So I've got the Titans then at 4-7. What about you?
I've got a loss here. I think Seattle's well built to play tough, competitive football. New offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, two-headed, maybe a three-headed monster in the backfield with Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. They draft Damian Martinez, so this will be Damian Martinez versus Cam Ward. Hopefully, a fun, reuniting there. Elijah Arroyo too. I think they drafted out of Miami. So Cam Ward will see a couple of his old teammates. I just think that the Seahawks remind me a bit of the Raiders and Chargers, where hard-nosed football coach Mike McDonald. They won 10 games last year, barely missed the playoffs. Yes, they've gone through a lot of change, new quarterback, new offensive coordinator, got rid of DK Metcalf, but they also brought in some veterans who know how to win. Cooper Kupp, DeMarcus Lawrence. I think they upgraded at offensive coordinator. They want to be a run-first football team. They want to play hard-nosed throwback ball. They're going to be a bit more boring than they were last year, but again, I think that tends to lead to teams being pretty competitive. I think they're, well beyond where the Titans are in sort of their, you can't even call it a rebuild because this is an older Seahawks team to a degree. So yeah, I like Seattle to pull this one out.
I think it all depends on how good Sam Darnold is in his new
They are the biggest unknown in the NFL, by the way. Like, it's so much change they've undergone this offseason.
Well, it's them and the Raiders, I would say. But all right, so you got a Titans loss. I have a Titans win. Then the Titans play their fourth straight home game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, the first meeting with Jacksonville this year. I wish they played Jacksonville earlier because, getting Liam Cohen when he's still green as a head coach and who's also calling plays there. Defensive coordinator is also a first-time defensive coordinator. So they've got all these people in positions they've never been in before. They're going to have 10 or 11 weeks to figure it out before they have to play, or 12 weeks to figure it out before they play the Titans in Week 13. Again, Titans at home, another 12 p.m. kickoff. I've got the Titans winning this game. And like I said, the win against Seattle sparks something in this team, a run of sorts. And I've got them getting back-to-back wins here by beating Jacksonville at home. What about you?
I'm going with a win as well. I think they win the home game. I don't care that it's not early in the year. I mean, Jacksonville could be in full-blown disaster mode by this time on the calendar. If they're not doing as well as they think they will, or Trevor Lawrence is hurt again for like the third straight year, I like the Titans to win this one at home.
And we might get to see, depending on how far along he is in his rookie season, Alec Iamanair up against Travis Hunter when the last time they faced each other, Iamanair had 296 receiving yards. All right. Week 14, the Titans travel to Cleveland, the start of a 2-game road trip for another 12 p.m. kickoff. Who knows who the quarterback will be for the Cleveland Browns in Week 14? I doubt Kenny Pickett will still be starting. Maybe it's Dylan Gabriel.
Kenny Pickett start at all? I think it's Joe Flacco in Week 1.
Oh, I think they're saying that right now, who knows what we know right now, but right now they're saying Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel are going to split first and second team reps, while Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders split third and fourth team reps. And they're doing this on purpose so that it's like, Dylan Gabriel, here's your veteran mentor. It's Kenny Pickett. Good luck. And Shedeur Sanders, here's your veteran mentor. It's Joe Flacco. I would rather be in Shedeur Sanders' situation there, but I'd also rather be taking the second team reps than the fourth team reps. But by Week 14, the NFL just needs to give the people what they want. Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders. Come on, right? What are we talking about?
I hate that I'm going with a Cleveland win here, by the way, but them on the road, I am.
Oh, come on.
Quinshon Judkins, I think, is going to be an elite running back, a rookie running back. Again, I think they're, great defense. Can the Titans block Myles Garrett and who was it at fifth? Mason Graham, like really good defensive line, great secondary. I think they'll be built to run the football, good offensive line, good rookie running back. sorry, I've got the Titans losing this one, regardless who the quarterback is in Cleveland.
I think the quarterback play is going to be the determining factor, and I think that whoever suits up for Cleveland, I hope at least that Cam Ward will be the best quarterback on the field for this game. That's why you drafted number 1 overall, is because you think that he can be that guy, especially by week 14. Enough seasoning in the NFL to like the game slowing down for him, right? So I've got the Titans winning this one, which puts them, in my prediction, on a 3-game win streak.
What record do you have them at, and what do I have them at?
Right now, I have them at 6-7. You have them at 5-8, and that is with 4 games remaining. So if they're 5-8 or 6-7 with 4 games remaining, I think we'll feel decently good about the direction of this team. Like I've got them through 14 weeks, doubling their win total from last year. You've got them with a chance over the last 4 games to more than double their win total from last year. So I think that would be a step in the right direction, as long as they're not getting blown out in the 7 or 8 losses that we've predicted, right? But then week 15. Their second straight road game, they travel to San Francisco for a 3:25 kickoff against a team that was a serious letdown last year, but is in a new place this year. I think they have a renewed focus and energy. They've got the Brock Purdy and Fred Warner contracts wrapped up. They shipped off Deebo Samuel. They still have Brandon Ayuk. They got Ricky Pearsall ready to step into a bigger role. Christian McCaffrey is apparently healthy from his, double Achilles tendonitis or whatever the fuck that shit's called. So we'll see where he's at by week 15. But I think the Niners probably win this game. I think the Niners are going to be a good team again this year. They have one of the easier schedules in the NFL, and part of that equation is that the Titans are on their schedule, and the Titans are not viewed as a good team. But I think the Titans' 3-game win streak that I have them on ends here. I'm predicting a loss to put them at 6-8, and you are...
Yeah, I'm going with a loss as well. I think the 49ers bounce back this year. Still a little bit of unknowns, but I think the O-line should be in a good spot. Trent Williams at left tackle. Look out for Dominic Pooney, sophomore left guard. I think he's going to start establishing himself as one of the better guards in the league this year. I think the big question's at the pass rush spot, right? They've got Bosa, and they haven't had much else in recent years. They draft Michael Williams, number 11 overall. They're going to put a lot of expectations on his shoulders right away to kind of be the secondary rusher. Then they've got, Yeturgros Matos. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
you're not.
I'm not. I figured I'm not. But you know what else is here? Sam O, rusher from, remember the former UDFA? He had like 4 sacks for San Francisco last year. So he's kind of, established himself as an NFL guy at least. Returning defensive coordinator in Robert Salah, right? He's back. Like, I think the 49ers, they might not be elite, but they're going to be a much better football team than they were a year ago. They're like a 10-7, 11-6 type of football team. Titans lose this one in California.
I will say, I think this could be one of those random games that the Titans win that they aren't supposed to win. You were talking about that earlier, how they're going to win some and lose some that they shouldn't. I think this could be one of those, just one of those random things. But I've got a Titans loss here as well. And then they come back home to face Kansas City at 12 o'clock. Cam Ward versus Patrick Mahomes, the player that he's been compared to numerous times by certain people.
The Eric Morris Bowl, as I like to call it.
Eric Morris Bowl. Eric Morris, of course, coached both of these guys in college, Mahomes and Cam Ward. But I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this one. Is it possible that the Titans win this game? Of course, any given Sunday. Would it be foolish for either of us to predict a Titans win over the Chiefs? I think it would be pretty foolish. And, as much as we are going to root for the team and analyze this matchup much more in depth when week 16 rolls around, right now in May, I'm going to predict that the Chiefs beat the Titans.
Me as well. I mean, no brainer. But wouldn't it be so much fun to see Cam Ward go toe-to-toe and win this game? I mean, 35-32 type of shootout, and Ward throws for 330 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, that's what you got to hope for this one. But yeah, tough to predict the Chiefs' loss here.
Yeah. Week 17, the Titans are back home again, second straight week that they're home here, to take on the New Orleans Saints at 12 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, by week 17, the Saints are either Tyler Shuck's going to be hurt because he got hurt every year of college, and he's going to have to play, a longer season now, and the Saints will be tanking, or Tyler Shuck will not be that good, and the Saints will be like, all right, it's time for us to go get the number 1 overall pick and draft a quarterback. I don't think the Saints are even going to try to win this game. Of course, NFL teams don't actually operate that way. We saw what happened in, down the stretch last year that ended up giving the Titans the number 1 overall pick. Of course, they're going to try to win this game, but from like an ownership standpoint, they're going to be like, guys, please don't go beat the Titans here and cost us 3 picks, 3 spots in the NFL draft order. I think the Titans win this game against the Saints. I think these are like the Saints are what the Titans were last year. And the Titans are hopefully a step beyond that now. And if the Titans don't win this game, it will probably end the Titans season in terms of like competing for one of those back end wildcard spots, and B, like might be a nail in Brian Callahan's coffin if they don't win this game. So I'm predicting the Titans beat the Saints in week 17.
Yeah, I'm not even keeping track, but I think I've got them on a pretty long losing streak here, but I'm going with a win. Same reasons you said. I think the Saints are in contention for the number 1 overall pick. Who knows who's going to be the quarterback? Probably Tyler Shook, as you said, but Jake Hayner, Spencer Rattler are also in that room. No matter what, I think, Saints are probably trying to get a quarterback in next year's draft. I do think the Titans win this game. So I've now got them at I believe 6 wins.
Yeah, you have them at 6-10. I have them at 7-9, heading into a final Week 18 game at Jacksonville. Date and time TBD. If the Titans are competing for the division with the Jaguars, they'll put this maybe in prime time, depending on what other division races are happening around the league. Maybe they'll put it on Saturday so that everyone can watch it. But we don't know when this game will happen yet. What we do know is the Titans will be in Jacksonville for this game, and that we both... or did you predict the Titans to beat Jacksonville already? I did.
I predicted a win in the first game. I did.
Yeah, so we both predicted a win. So now the question is, will they sweep at least one team in their division, and will it be Jacksonville? I predict yes. I predict the Titans end the season on a high note, finish 8-9 here on a 2-game winning streak to close out the year. Will 8-9 be good enough to get them into the wild card? Probably not. Will 8-9 be good enough to win the AFC South? It's not impossible. Depends on how good or bad the Texans are, really. But I think 8-9 is what I have the Titans finishing at here, and I'd have them doing that by sweeping the Jags in Week 18. What say you?
I'm going to contradict myself. Earlier I said they probably wouldn't sweep anyone. I'm going to go back on that and say they do sweep Jacksonville. I think this will be a perfect game, regular season finale. One team trending in the right direction, one team trending in the wrong direction. I think Titans will be that team going in the right direction. I've got them closing out here. So do you. On at least I've got a 2-game win streak. I already don't know if you've got more, but yeah. I've got a 2-game win. Of course, yeah, the Chiefs. So we've both got a 2-game win streak here to end the year. I've got him at 7-10. I think that's, you've more than doubled your win total. That's enough to justify a third Brian Callahan year. That you go into that offseason saying, hey, now we got to be a 9-10 win football team next year. Gradual growth every single year. It's enough that if they go 7-10, Cam Ward had a pretty good rookie season. I think Brian Callahan proved he's the right head coach for him. You feel good about going into an offseason with some continuity. Again, more than doubling their win total. Call me pessimistic if you want. I think 7-10 would be, I think a fairly realistic, good outcome for the Titans this year.
I totally agree with you. I do have them going 8-9 based on the game-by-game prediction. But if you told me, that the Titans will, like if somebody came from the future and said the Titans went 7-10 this upcoming season, I'd be like, okay, that's good. That's good progress. That is believable. I totally buy it. I think 8-9 is within the range of outcomes. I don't think they will be much better than that. In order for the Titans to be better than that, Cam Ward has to be really good right away. Femi Oladejo has to be really good right away because you don't win more than 8 games with the pass rush that the Titans have on paper right now. L'Jarius Sneed's got to play 15 or more games. Calvin Ridley's got to be good. One of these rookie receivers you drafted or signed as a UDFA has to be good. Like, it's going to take a lot of things going right to win more than 8 games. So obviously neither you or I feel comfortable projecting that all of those things happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think the 7-10, the 8-9, that range, I think it's possible they only win 4 games. If Brian Callahan isn't a good head coach, which is very likely, I think that's within the range of outcomes as well. I would struggle to see a 9 or 10 win season in the realistic range of outcomes for this team. So that's it, Justin. We did it. We predicted the whole schedule. Win-loss. Let us know if you agree or disagree below. I think I'll make graphics out of these predictions and put them on social media. Why not? Seems like a fun, stupid way to bait some engagement because, again, doing this exercise in May is so silly. But we're doing it because it's fun. We're having fun with you guys. So let us know in the comments below if you liked this video, of what your prediction for the Titans 2025 record is. And remember to subscribe to the channel. The subs keep climbing up, but we still got a lot more of you guys who are unsubscribed watching this video than we have subscribed. So please subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop a comment below. Thanks again to Sinkers Beverages. We'll be back later this week to talk maybe a little bit about Phase 3 of OTAs. I'm sure there'll be some good stuff coming out of Phase 3 here. Hope everyone had a great Memorial Day weekend. And until next time, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.